In 2009, on a very friendly dating show in China, a male guest appeared who looked particularly ordinary in both appearance and clothing. What the female guests on the stage never expected was that the man's true identity was a CEO with a net worth of 1.2 billion yuan. However, the male guest wasn't that simple. In order to avoid being pursued by materialistic women, he chose to keep a low profile during the dating show. As soon as he stepped on stage, he introduced himself like this. "Hello everyone, I'm 36 years old, with a monthly income of around 4,600 yuan. Currently, I work at a restaurant as a waiter serving dishes. I'm here today to find a beautiful, virtuous, and filial girlfriend." Before the male guest could continue, 14 of the female guests immediately turned off their lights in rejection. At this point, female guest number 13 spoke up. "Male guest, you're already 36 years old and you're still serving dishes in a restaurant? Your life is just two. And you say you want to find a beautiful, virtuous, and caring girlfriend? I think you're just ridiculous. You're just a waiter, how dare you make such demands?" Female guest number 13 continued. "Working as a waiter in a restaurant basically means you're just doing odd jobs. What kind of future do you even have? Not only is your salary pitifully low, but you probably have no skills and no ambition. With your conditions, I doubt you can even afford a house or a car. Would your future girlfriend have to live with you in the countryside?" The male guest was speechless after hearing this. Female guest number 13 pressed further. "If you do find a girlfriend, may I ask when you plan to buy a car or a house?" The male guest smiled and replied. "Since I work in the provincial capital where housing prices are very high, I haven't considered buying a house for now. I want to save more money and start a business. After I succeed in my career, I'll think about buying a house. Before starting my business, I'd like to find a girlfriend to join me in building it together. If I focus on saving for a house now, the pressure would be too great, plus I can't afford it anyway. It's more realistic to buy one after achieving success in my career. With my current income, buying a house isn't feasible. Besides, housing prices are beyond my means right now. I think while I'm still young, I should work hard. Otherwise, I might not even have the chance to strive for success later." Female guest number 13 responded. "Your mindset is fine, but you've taken no action. You're almost 40 and still a waiter. Since you can't even provide the most basic security for a woman, which girl would be willing to date you? You said you'd buy a house after succeeding in your career, but what if you fail? Who would be willing to waste their youth waiting for you?" After saying this, female guest number 13 turned off her light with a click. 5 more female guests followed suit and turned off their lights. Then, female guest number 16 smiled and said to the male guest, "Having such career ambitions is fine, but I think you lack the ability. It's better to find a decent job instead of daydreaming. Judging by your current job, you might even be struggling to make ends meet, so how can you talk about striving for success?" She continued, "I hope you can be more realistic. Look at your own capabilities first. Besides, you can't even afford a luxury necklace from me. To be blunt, just one of my designer necklaces costs over 20,000 to 30,000 yuan." The male guest looked surprised. "What kind of necklace costs that much? May I ask?" Female guest number 16, "What do you do for a living?" Female guest number 16 confidently replied, "I'm a masseuse at a massage parlor. I earn around 30,000 yuan a month. One of my designer necklaces might equal your entire year's salary. If we were together, would I have to ride shared bikes with you every day to work? You talk about working hard, but you'd make a woman suffer with you? What if your business fails? Would the woman have to bear the consequences with you? Have you even thought about that? Let's not even talk about whether you can bring happiness to a woman." The male guest angrily retorted, "Do you all just expect to get everything for free? I hope you don't think like that. Everything requires effort. There are no rewards without hard work. You should try to understand a person's heart. Although I can't provide the life you want right now, to be honest, I wouldn't consider someone as self-centered as you. I believe happiness comes from both people working together, not just one person sacrificing endlessly. If you're looking for a rich man, I think that's unlikely, because you should also consider your own qualifications. A truly wealthy man might not even be interested in you." Female guest number 16, furious, snapped back. "What's wrong with my conditions? I have both looks and a good figure." The male guest then said to the remaining female guests who still had their lights on, "Even though I can't offer you material comforts now, I believe I can achieve them in the future and give my partner a satisfying life." Just as he finished speaking, female guest number 3 interrupted. "That all sounds nice, but based on what you said to the previous female guests, I think you're a decent person. I've been observing you since you stepped on stage. From your words, it's clear you're career-driven. But let me ask, if you had money, would you buy me designer bags and clothes? Because I love using luxury items to dress up and look glamorous." The male guest replied, "I can tell you straight away I wouldn't agree to that. I think luxury goods are beyond the means of ordinary people like us. Then he added, I'm sorry, I didn't reveal my true identity earlier. I'm not actually a waiter. That was just my first job when I started working. Now I'm the CEO of a catering company with assets exceeding 1.2 billion yuan. With that, he held her hand and left the stage, smiling. As for the female guests who had turned off their lights earlier, their faces twisted in regret. I was born in the 1980s and I'm 40 years old now, single, employed, but I don't feel like working. I love sleeping in. I can cook, but I don't want to anymore. I don't want to get married, don't want to be in a relationship, and definitely don't want to have kids, though I do wish I had a child to take care of me in old age. At this point, I'm already considered an older mother, and I've never met anyone I wanted to marry. I've been in relationships before, but they all ended in breakups. I used to work hard to prove I was just as good as anyone else, and later I wanted to prove it to someone specific. But I realized that wasn't enough, being good at managing a household, taking care of others. I did all that too, yet it still didn't work out. There was a time when I even questioned why I was so inadequate, why I couldn't seem to do anything right. One question has always lingered in my mind: why does society judge a person based on their social connections and how much money they make? Traditionally, if you're good at caring for elders, managing a home, and doing housework, you're still labeled a failure. Maybe I really am just not good enough. If the worst comes to worst and no one wants me, I might as well accept it and just be a loser.
我是86年
I was born in 1986, under the zodiac sign of the tiger, and this year I turned 40, single, unmarried, alone, no spouse, no children. Recently, a lot of people have been messaging me privately, all asking the same question: since I'm not bad-looking, how did I end up leftover? Today, I'm going to be completely honest and lay all my cards on the table. I hope everyone can understand and refrain from cyberbullying or criticizing me, because these were all things that happened when I was younger. Back when I was in school, around 14 to 17 years old, all the way until 18, there were so many boys who liked me. When I opened my backpack after school, love letters would just come pouring out. But at that time, my family and relatives, aunts, uncles, you name it, all told me, you have plenty of opportunities later in life. Don't date during your student years because first loves never work out. And just like that, my chance at young love was crushed. Then, when I started working between 20 and 25, there were still tons of guys pursuing me. But my aunts and uncles would say, keep your eyes wide open and find someone with good prospects. Marriage is about practicality, it's a lifelong commitment. Love alone can't put food on the table. Remember, rushing into romance leads to no good, there will always be better options later. And once again, I listened to my family because at the time I wasn't the rebellious type, I was a total mama's girl. Before I knew it, I was between 30 and 35, and that's when the arranged matchmaking started. By then, the guys who used to pursue me already had kids in middle school. So my relatives began setting me up on blind dates, but the men they introduced would say I was fat, old, ugly, and even had white hair. My family would then lecture me, don't be so picky. If you keep your standards this high, you'll never find anyone. If nothing works out, just go back to the countryside and marry a farmer. Or find a pig farmer, you two can raise pigs together and eat pork every day. How great would that be? That's when I realized I couldn't find a partner anymore. Then, after 35 and up to 40, whenever someone tried to set me up, the moment they heard I'd never been married, they'd assume something was wrong with me, that I must be mentally ill or have some physical condition. They wouldn't even want to meet me. And just like that, I became a 40-year-old leftover woman.
我91年35
I'm 35 years old, born in 1991, and have been single for 5 years. The reason I say I'm under tremendous pressure is that in my previous job, I had already managed a team of nearly 500 people. But after the company went bankrupt, my entire career was reset to zero, and my income dropped significantly. In the current economic climate, no company is looking to hire managers for large teams, and no company dares to hire a woman my age. On top of that, I had bought 2 apartments, one turned out to be an unfinished project, and the other lost so much value that the down payment was completely wiped out. Yet I still have to pay the mortgages. Living in a megacity like Shanghai, the cost of living is extremely high. For women like me who came from a small town to struggle for a better life in a top-tier city, I believe many can relate to this kind of pressure.
如果大龄剩女
If older single women and older single men remain unmarried in the long run, who will end up worse off? Today, let's first talk about older single women. The core reason they have the confidence to stay single boils down to the fact that they believe they still have some capital to pick and choose. However, as youth fades, especially after the age of 30, older single women will witness the rapid depreciation of this capital firsthand. For women, this experience is anything but pleasant. As they age, the attention from admirers gradually disappears, and high-quality older single men typically prefer more docile younger women. Thus, the primary reason older single women are leftover is their age. For men, however, the reasons for being single are far more varied. While there are many factors that might leave men single, there are also plenty of opportunities and avenues for them to compensate. For women, the opposite is true. The reasons older single women remain unmarried may be few, but the ways to make up for it are even fewer, if any. This is because, in traditional views, society naturally has very low tolerance for an older single woman's age. There's no way around it. This mindset has been passed down since ancient times due to historical reasons. Even though society is more inclusive now, biases undeniably persist. Thus, age is a fatal weakness for single women. Compared to the shortcomings of single men, such as being unattractive, poor, or foolish, the flaws of single men are almost negligible. A wealthy older man, if given the choice, will always prefer a young and beautiful woman as a marriage partner. What they seek is not just physical satisfaction, but also the reproductive value of women. Those who claim they will never settle or compromise in their later years don't fully grasp the price they'll have to pay. The average life expectancy for women in our country is 80 years, and most women enter menopause around the age of 50. At the same time, the likelihood of their parents passing away increases significantly from this stage onward. So, for older single women, 50 is the final watershed moment. The qualities they once took pride in will turn to ashes from this point onward. The convictions and confidence they held in their standards for choosing a partner will be completely shattered, marking their full entry into old age. The next 30 years will require them to face life alone, without parents, a spouse, or children. Older single women will have to shoulder everything by themselves. Thus, the refusal to settle or lower standards is a luxury. Much like perishable goods, it must be exercised within an expiration date. For young single women, this shelf life is their most valuable resource. The reason they hold bargaining power and the ability to take initiative is precisely because this expiration date exists. But once they cross that watershed, once the best-by date has passed, everything becomes meaningless. Their bargaining chips turn into worthless scraps of paper, and their initiative expires along with their youth. Under these circumstances, if older single women lack sufficient financial security, the next 30 years will make it nearly impossible to maintain a relatively dignified single life. From this perspective, it's almost inevitable that most older single women will not end up in a particularly favorable situation. 100 million Chinese women will end up with nothing in the future. According to the China Statistical Yearbook released by the National Bureau of Statistics, the number of single women in China has reached 116 million, accounting for 14.6% of the total population. Among them, Guangdong Province has over 7.7 million single women, Zhejiang has 2.79 million, and Guangxi has 1.71 million. Other regions like Hubei, Yunnan, and Jiangxi also have relatively high numbers of single women. Given that there are 35 million more men than women in China, the number of male bachelors has already reached 50 million. What does 100 million mean? It's more than the entire population of Russia, 1.3 times that of Japan, and 2.5 times that of France. Many people might be shocked by these numbers. In the past, we only heard about men struggling to find wives, so why are there so many single women now? If men can't marry due to financial constraints, why are women also unable to marry? And have you ever wondered why the media rarely reports on the issue of leftover women? Even when they do, these women are often portrayed as eccentric outliers, with the narrative suggesting that their situations defy common sense and are intolerable exceptions. But is the truth really that simple? Since the reform and opening up, the market economy has brought material prosperity and an influx of foreign culture, opening new doors for women. Life has become more colorful, diverse, and free. Women's fashion has evolved, shawls, French waves, and stylish outfits have become street trends. A vibrant lifestyle has become the choice for many women, and female beauty has been unleashed like never before. With the spread of quality education, women's individual consciousness has emerged from collective thinking. Women have gained more independent self-awareness and greater freedom in defining their identities and lifestyles. Tolerance and diversity have become hallmarks of the new era, but they also come with countless pitfalls, as everything has multiple facets. While freedom has flourished, unsettling elements of confusion and division have also spread. Consumerism has deeply influenced people's lives, with money-driven goals, consumption-oriented values, and hedonistic romance becoming pervasive among women and society at large. Pastoral feminism has also gained traction, with labels like calculating, independent, mature, and strong career woman defining the new image of modern women. Many women now prioritize material aspects in relationships, seeking material satisfaction. They often treat love as a commodity to be exchanged and consumed. For many, brand names have become a measure of a person's or relationship's success, believing that only luxury handbags, cosmetics, and other material goods can earn them attention and respect. This has led some women to focus excessively on personal value and self-interest, viewing consumption levels as a key indicator of life satisfaction and happiness. Thus, it's no surprise to see all sorts of bizarre holidays popping up, like the first cup of milk tea in autumn, or if you love them, empty their shopping cart. At its core, economics is the sole driving force behind the leftover women phenomenon. Consumerism is omnipresent, with countless fabricated holidays, multiple Valentine's Days, anniversaries, birthdays, Christmas, and even Women's Day, all serving as excuses for spending. Yet behind all this, it's mostly men's wallets being drained. From an instinctual perspective, men spending money on women isn't necessarily an obligation, but it is often voluntary, a mutual agreement. For capital and economic forces, simply using advertising slogans to coax men into spending is nearly impossible because their needs are minimal. Many men wear the same socks for years, repurpose old underwear as rags, and use a single towel all year. How could they be big consumers? Consumption is unlikely. Their priorities are marriage and carrying on the family line, a deeply ingrained genetic and traditional imperative. The only thing that truly drives male consumption is the women in their lives. Only by stimulating women's desire to shop can the economy thrive and generate substantial profits. But the past is not the present. With the so-called simp economy collapsing, really just a symptom of economic downturn and reduced earnings, I've never believed in this idea that men have stopped spending. A fox may grow gray but never good, just like quitting smoking or drinking, a few might succeed but most won't. Now, with economic hardship, the real estate market collapsing, foreign trade shrinking, and cheap labor shifting elsewhere, even the entertainment industry has relocated, women find themselves in an awkward position. Of course, this isn't to say women aren't working hard enough. In a male-dominated world, even men are struggling to stay afloat, let alone women, who must work twice as hard to succeed. That said, it's not that these women can't get married. In a society with more men than women, any woman who wants to marry can find a partner. Their prolonged single status is entirely due to overly high standards. Few men meet their requirements. So they must face reality. Marriage may not be the best choice, but it's the optimal one for now. Once they pass prime childbearing age, they'll face anxiety over fading looks, declining health, age bias, financial struggles, and the loss of parents. Without the familial bond, even distant relatives will become strangers, and the last traces of warmth in their lives will vanish. I find that every blind date is a tremendous blow to my mental and emotional well-being. Modern women aren't as demanding about material conditions anymore, especially someone like me in my 30s who's independent. Just meeting basic standards is enough. When it comes to material conditions, what we care about more is appearance, you know. The guy I met today was wearing this sweater with a black collar, green stripes, the kind my dad would wear, all pilled, the sleeves shiny with wear, his glasses chipped at the edges. And his back pockets were all bunched up. I couldn't tell if he was wearing long johns underneath or if it was just the cut, but it looked like the pants Huang Bo wore in that movie. What was it called? Cow, the one where he's all scruffy. I mean, at least I put on makeup for this. I don't even like wearing makeup, but I do it every day. I only get one day off a week, and for this date I even washed my hair and freshened up my face, dragging myself out of bed when I really didn't feel like it. And then I meet someone like this? Supposedly, he earns hundreds of thousands a year and owns property worth millions, but what does that have to do with me? Women like me have it figured out. Premarital assets are premarital assets, they have nothing to do with us, and we don't want to take advantage of you. Honestly, we just want someone to build a life with. Whether you have money or not doesn't really matter to us. If you're rich but you're guarded against me, treating me like some gold digger, I'd rather not have a cent of your money. Even if you earn less than me, I can accept that. But your appearance? Your overall presentation? The matchmaker already told me your stats. Why else would I come out to meet you? Just to see if I can stand the thought of sleeping with you? Or whether I can even bring myself to kiss you. I was chatting with some of my male friends in their 30s who work in creative industries, and they said that as men get older, they become less interested in getting married. I asked why, and they said they're just too busy, running their own companies, managing teams, and dealing with immense pressure. They no longer have the energy to chase after women like they did in college, putting in effort to take them out for meals and movies or going all out to win them over. Now in their 30s, they've become much more rational about relationships. For these creative types earning over 600,000 yuan a year in first-tier cities, if they already own a home and a car and live comfortably without financial stress, marriage isn't a priority. But if they marry and have kids, they'd have to consider added expenses like school district housing. If their partner doesn't contribute to mutual prosperity or enhance their life in any meaningful way, staying single becomes the better choice. It means more freedom. If they do have emotional or physical needs, most opt for short-term relationships. They'll find a woman they vibe with, someone fun and easygoing, and keep things casual. This is the general mindset among many of my financially stable male friends in Guangzhou and other major cities. When it comes to marriage, men go through different phases. Right after college, when they're new to society, they're still idealistic and yearn for simple, innocent romance. Take, for example, Wang Xiqing, aka President Wang. In his 20s, he dated a model and even publicly defended her when rumors swirled, only to be proven wrong later. That experience, among others, likely contributed to his aversion to marriage later on. Many men in their 20s, whether they're wealthy heirs or self-made, are still relatively naive. If you're in your early 20s and meet a 25-year-old guy who's just starting out but comes from a good family and wants to marry you, I'd say go for it. Your chances of a successful relationship are much higher at that stage. This is why many international students end up marrying during their studies abroad. But once those same men return home and see how many beautiful single women are available, they might lose interest in settling down. For men aged 30 to 35 who are career-driven, their youthful idealism has faded, replaced by rationality and pragmatism. At this stage, their careers are on the rise and they're in no hurry. They know they have plenty of options, from women in their early 20s to late 20s. If you're a man in your 30s with a stable career, property, and a car in a first-tier city, many women will be eyeing you. But with so many options, they often delay marriage. Once they hit 35 plus, however, societal and parental pressure kicks in, especially about having kids. At this point, they start actively considering marriage again, but their standards become even more stringent. They want a woman who can connect with them intellectually, share their values, and manage the household. By their 40s, men become indifferent again. They feel marriage isn't a must, but if they meet someone they genuinely like, they're open to it. If the man is ultra-wealthy or a high achiever, his criteria might even simplify. He prioritizes physical attraction and chemistry over a woman's career or financial status. At this stage, he doesn't need a partner to empower him. He just wants someone who loves him for who he is, not just his money. Though let's be real, if a young woman dates a man in his 40s, it's unlikely she's only in it for love. Some women might wonder, can I use pregnancy to secure my position? For ultra-wealthy men, legacy matters and they often want children. But ladies, don't assume a baby will guarantee marriage. Take Liang Luoshi, who had 3 sons with Richard Li yet never married him, or Sandra Ng, who's been with Peter Chan for 20 years without a wedding. Never rely on a child to trap a man. It's unfair to the child, and wealthy men can afford to support multiple children without committing to marriage. My advice, if you're in your prime dating years and meet a high-quality man, don't hesitate to pursue marriage. This is coming from a 33-year-old married woman. If a man can't commit or fails to provide, walk away. Always have a backup plan. I was born in 1991, so I'm 33 years old now, and in 2 months I'll be a full 34. Currently, I'm still a three-nose person, meaning no mortgage, no car loan, and no children. I originally wanted to make an effort before turning 35 to get married and have someone by my side, but now it's already May and I don't even have anyone to flirt with. When I'm sick, I still have to pour my own water and cook instant noodles for myself. They say 35 is a watershed moment for women. Once you pass that age, you're pretty much stuck with yourself. I've already prepared myself for the possibility of spending my life alone. If that's how it's meant to be, then I'll just plan my future carefully. I'll most likely save up enough money. Once I've saved $1 million, I'll move to a smaller city, buy a cheap house, and find some random job to keep me going. Then I'll take my little dog with me, maybe even get a piece of land to farm or something. Wouldn't that be a pretty good way to live my life? No ties to marriage, no worldly troubles. When I think about it that way, it doesn't seem so bad.